In this video, we're going to be talking about 4 good fundamental principles that will help you achieve a credit score of 800 or higher. If you can just follow these 4 things, then you're going to be good. It's just a matter of time. But just like diet and exercise, eating one salad and going to the gym one time, that's not going to give you 6-pack abs. But if you do it enough times, you're going to achieve your fitness goals. Kind of the same principles here. If you do these 4 fundamental things, then your credit score is not going to jump overnight, but it will get you to where you want to go. But in addition to these 4 long-term strategies, we're also going to be throwing in a 5th bonus topic that can supercharge your credit and potentially increase your credit score by 50 or 100 points or more in just a matter of days. Hi everyone, my name's Ben, and this channel is dedicated to all things personal finance, helping you earn more, spend less, and invest the difference. So let's get started. Alright guys, so long-term strategy number 1 to improve your credit score, and honestly this really shouldn't be a surprise, but it's just pay your bills on time. Making on-time payments makes up 35% of your total credit score. It's the single largest category when it comes to calculating that FICO credit score of yours. So it's imperative that you always pay your bills on time. And the best way that we can do this is just to simply go online, go to your bank, and set up auto pay for all of your different bills. That way you never have to worry about life getting in the way and you forgetting to manually log in and pay your credit card statement, pay your mortgage, pay your car payment, whatever it is. It's just set up on auto pay. Set it up once and completely forget about it. Now ideally when you set up your auto payment, you're going to have it pay your full statement balance in full every month. That way you're not getting charged any interest on credit cards or something like that. But I realize that may not be possible for everyone, especially if you're struggling with debt and trying to claw your way out of debt. But at minimum, you're still going to want to set up your auto payment account, but instead of the full statement balance, you're just going to want to make the minimum payment and have that set up on auto pay. Now, if you have additional money left over at the end of the month, then you can go in, log in, make a manual second payment on top of the minimum. That way you're actually paying down your bills. But this way, you still at least are always hitting that minimum payment. Tip number 2 to getting an 800 credit score is to simply pay down your debts. Your credit utilization rate makes up the second largest category when it comes to calculating your credit score. Your credit utilization rate is essentially just a ratio of how much credit you have available versus how much of it are you using. The higher the ratio, the worse off you are. For example, if you just have one credit card and that card has a $5,000 max limit on it, and you've spent all $5,000, you've maxed this sucker out, that is a 100% utilization rate. That's terrible. That's going to destroy your credit score. But if instead you'd only spent $2,500 on a $5,000 limit card, that would only be a 50% utilization rate, which is still bad, but it's less bad. The lower the number, the better. Now, ideally, a lot of people say that you want to get that number to at least 20% or lower, but realistically, lower is always better. So if you can get that number down to 10% or 5% or 1%, then that's even better yet. And honestly, guys, I think that this tip is the single most important thing that you can do with your finances. I'm not just talking about for credit purposes. I'm just talking about big picture finance stuff. You got to pay down your debts. I know a lot of people are struggling, maybe living paycheck to paycheck or something like that. And more often than not, what's causing them problems is the interest on the debt that they've already racked up. That interest that they're paying on their existing debt is permanently weighing them down so that they can't get anywhere. It's kind of like you're trying to tread water, but you have a cinder block tied to your feet. Like, eventually you're going to get tired and you're going to sink and drown, mafia style. So instead of just treading water, cut the rope to that cinder block and start swimming. The way we do this is we pay down our debt and become debt-free. Now, in order to show you just how important it is to stop paying interest on your credit card payments, I'm going to go through a little bit of an analogy. It's not 100% perfect, but bear with me because I think this is going to blow your minds. All right, looking at this chart is showing how much money you would have if you invested a one-time $10,000 deposit over the course of 30 years at various interest rates. It's going to start off on the left with only an 8% interest rate, and that one honestly just barely shows up on this chart. it clocks in at roughly $100,000 even. And then it goes up from there, 9%, 10%, 11% interest, etc. Now 10% is roughly the long-term historical averages of the US stock market. And in this case, if we'd invested $10,000, that number jumps up to about $175,000 after 30 years. And then if we move to the right a little bit more, 14% interest rate, well, that's going to get you almost $510,000. Now, the key thing here to keep in mind is that this is all exponential growth. Small changes to the interest rate end up making a very large difference in the total outcome of your finances. Now, here in this second chart, this is the exact same chart. The exact same chart, except I've added one additional column on the right-hand side, and this column is listed at 29.99% interest rate. And at that interest rate, your initial $10,000 would have grown to over $26 million. Now look at how this chart on the right completely dwarfs all of these other ones. Like, it makes these other ones look silly small. Now, why did I add this last column on the right? Well, 29.99%, that might be what you're paying in credit card interest. Now imagine if you're trying to tread water, but you have a 26 million pound weight tied to your ankles. Do you think you're going to be able to tread water with that kind of a weight tied to you? No. You gotta cut the cord. You have got to get out of credit card debt whatever way you can, because you cannot fight your way. You cannot win this battle against these high interest rates. So how do I suggest starting to pay down your credit card bills? Well, sometimes, unfortunately, it means getting a second job, at least temporarily, until we're able to get out of debt. Or at least significantly looking at your finances and finding out a way to cut back and budget. Now, personally, I don't like to budget myself because I think a lot of times budgeting looks at the small expenses in your life and tries to cut out all of those small expenses. But you gotta cut out a lot of small expenses in order to add up to anything significant amount to actually pay off your credit card debt. Instead, what I suggest doing is just watching this video. I kind of flip things on its end and I look at all of your big ticket expenses. Where is the majority of your money going? And then try to cut back in those select few areas instead of trying to cut back on that individual cup of coffee or that one time that you go out to eat with your friends. Start looking at the big picture of where do you spend the most amount of your money and cut back on that. All right, guys, so tip number 3 when it comes to improving your credit is you've got to have a wide variety of different types of credit. Creditors like to see that you're able to handle multiple different types of debt. So the primary things that they're looking for is installment loans and revolving debt. Now, revolving debt is things like credit cards where your balance and your payments are fluctuating every month depending on how much you have charged on that credit card. And installment loans are going to be fixed loans. So some examples of these are going to be things like mortgages, auto loans, student loans, etc. Right? So if you bought a car and your car payment is $300 a month for the next 5 years, that $300 payment doesn't change for the next 5 years. It's $300 this month, $300 the next month, $300 the month after that. That's an installment loan. And realistically, you want to have both types of loans. So if you've only got a car payment and you don't have a credit card, it's time to go and apply for a credit card. If you only have a credit card but don't have an installment loan, it's time to get an installment loan. Now, I never recommend getting debt just to improve your credit score. If you've already got an installment loan but you need a credit card, if your credit score isn't very good, maybe get a secured credit card or something like that. Personally, I recommend the Chime Credit Builder credit card. It's a credit card that does not require a credit check, and in fact, it's really acts more like a debit card than a credit card, so you really can't be late on your payments with this stuff. If you're interested more on that, you can watch this video right here. Same thing applies if you've already got a credit card, but you don't have an installment loan. Don't go out and buy something just to have an installment loan if you don't actually need that item. Instead, what I might recommend, if you've already got everything you need, but you still don't have an installment loan, is to apply for the upgrade credit card and just go out and buy one thing and then just don't use that credit card again. Now, the reason why I recommend getting the upgrade card is because this credit card works different than pretty much every other credit card on the market. Remember, credit cards are typically revolving credit, but the upgrade card is not. What the upgrade card is doing is it's combining all of your purchases for a month and packaging them together and turning that into an installment loan. And that loan will be paid off over the course of the next year or two, however you have your upgrade card set up. It will be drawn out over a year or two, and so you will be charged interest. So for that reason, I recommend just going out and buying something small. Go out and purchase, a meal or something like that. Put 20 bucks on your card, and it's going to turn that $20 into an installment loan over a year or two. And realistically, if you're getting charged interest on a $20 purchase, like that interest is not going to be very much, but it is technically still going to show as an installment loan on your credit report, and that's all you need in order to get that credit boost. Tip number 4 when it comes to improving your credit score is never close out any lines of credit unless you absolutely have to. The age of your credit accounts is going to factor into your overall credit score. And as soon as you close out those accounts are no longer aging and becoming older and older and older, because as they become older, it helps your credit score. So if you have some old accounts, maybe like a store-branded credit card from Victoria's Secret or Best Buy or Kohl's or wherever it was that you got a store-branded credit card because they were going to give you a one-time 15% discount or whatever like that. If you have some of those cards and you haven't already closed them, keep them open. Unless a card is charging you an annual fee, there is no reason to ever close that account. If you're not going to use the card, that's fine. You can cut it up, you can throw it in the trash, you can do whatever you want, but technically leave the account open. That way it continues to age, and as it ages, it will improve your credit score. So those are going to be the 4 long-term things that you can do to get your credit score up to an 800. But what if you're trying to supercharge your results quickly and provide a significant boost to your credit immediately? Well, in that case, it's time to go out and find somebody that is willing to add you as an authorized user on one of their credit cards. Being added as an authorized user essentially piggybacks off of that other person's good credit. So maybe your mom, your sister, your uncle, grandma, somebody in your family has good credit. Go out and talk to them and see if they'd be willing to help you out by adding you as an authorized user. It's completely free to them. It doesn't cost them anything. All they have to do is log into their credit card account and simply add you as an authorized user. Now, when this happens, in strictest of terms, you are now able to swipe their credit card just like they are able to swipe their credit card. So technically, it gives you access to their money, but it's still going to be safe for your friend. Reason being is because you can't spend their money unless you actually have a card in hand or at least know their credit card numbers. So what they're going to do is they're going to add you to their card, but that new card that they're going to have mailed out, they're going to mail it to themselves and not to you. So you technically still don't have a card, so you can't spend their money. But all of the payments, all of the on-time history that's associated with this other card, it is now also going to show up on your credit report. So for example, if grandma has a $25,000 credit limit card that she's had for 10 years and she's never missed a payment on it and it has a very low utilization rate, then as soon as you are added as an authorized user on that card, now the next month when that credit card reports to the credit bureaus, it's also going to show up on your credit report as if you also have a $25,000 credit limit card and that you have made on-time payments for the last 10 years and that you have a very low credit utilization rate. You're basically piggybacking and stealing some of her good credit. Now when you're doing this, it's very, very, very important that this particular credit card that you are being added on has never had a late payment associated with it. Because like I said, you're going to steal whatever credit information is on file for that. So if that particular credit card already has a bunch of late payments on it, well, guess what's being imported now into your credit file? All those late payments are now transferring into your credit file as well. which could hurt your credit score. So you want to make sure that whatever account you're being added to is pristine. It's never had any hiccups. So that's going to do it for us today, folks. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe, leave a comment down below, give it a thumbs up for the YouTube algorithm, and as always, I'll see you all again next time.